Malaysian lecture usually use Google Meet, okay, not Zoom.
So far, it's still fine here. The camera, the mic also working.
Oke, baik, saya akan buka. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day, everybody. First, I want to give some respect to especially teaching from INTI University, INTI International University, Miss Azizah Farij, and I give some respect to my colleague Mr. Rino, and all of the students here. Yeah. First of all, I want to introduce our teacher or our lecturer in this morning. Her name is Miss Aziza from INTI International University. If I'm not mistaken, we have get some appointment with INTI that maybe in next January 2025, some of our students invite to get a course in one semester at INTI, but I think it's not clear until now. Maybe next time. Okay, in this class, first I want to share the curriculum vitae of Miss Aziza. Let me. Okay. In Indonesia, we know that tak kenal maka tak sayang ya. Tapi kalau di sini berarti kalau tak kenal nanti tak care atau tak peduli nanti sama kelasnya. So, I think I want to introduce Miss Aziza for the first time to all of you. Okay, where I put it here. Okay, wait for a moment. Oh, I cannot find it. Okay, maybe Miss Aziza will introduce herself to all of you if I have left the class because I cannot find where I put that your CV that you have given to me, Miss Aziza. Forgive me, okay?
It's okay, Doctor. I can introduce myself. Just a brief one.
Okay. In this class, in this topic, yeah, maybe you will give just share about control, yeah, internal control in Malaysia to our student because actually they can get the information or they can read it from the book, but maybe they can get some more information what about it in Malaysia, and I hope you can share in Malaysian case. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that's all for this time because it is 10:12 in Indonesia or 11:12 in Malaysia, and you can handle this class about 2 hours maximal. Okay, Miss Aziza, I will give this class to you.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Doctor.
May ask me and Mr. Rino leave this class?
Okay.
So the student, all of you, you can get the information about accounting information system with Miss Aziza, and then if anything you want to know, you can ask Miss Aziza. Don't be shy because I have give this class to her. Okay, see you. Let me leave this class. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. All right, good morning, everyone, to my students and as well as to Indonesian students. Okay, may I know or you can introduce from which university that you are in here?
Good morning, Miss.
Hello,
We're from Universitas Negeri Padang.
University?
University Negeri Padang.
University Negeri Padang. Anyone have been there? Padang, Indonesia? No, it's just nearby, right? To Malaysia, I think about 1 hour or less than 1 hour. Okay, so you are accounting students, right? From which year? First year, second year, or third year?
We are a second year student of accounting in Universitas Negeri Padang.
Ah, second year student. Same goes to both students, right? Both students second year, right? Okay. Okay, in my class, we have students from two programs, which is Bachelor in Accounting, Pure Accounting, which they are from in third year, correct? Bachi students? Third year or fourth year? Third, fourth, third. Okay, third, some of them fourth year, okay, and we also have another program which we call as Bachelor Accounting and Finance. So for Bachelor Accounting and Finance, they are currently in second year, second semester, right? Second year, second semester, third semester, second year, third semester, okay? So for my class, currently we already finished on the business process cycles, revenue expenditure. How about on your curriculum? On which topic that you have covered? For the business processes, have you covered it?
Yes, we already finished about the business cycle.
Business
in
cycle. So in the business process cycle, we already talked about the threats and the control to overcome the threats, right? So for today's topic, we will focus on one topic we call as internal control. So at your class, have you learned on the internal control topic? Not yet.
Yeah, and our we already learned about internal control too.
Already learned about internal control. Okay.
Yeah.
For my class, we are just entering. Maybe I will share some of extra information with you. All right. Okay. How many of you here? How many of you?
Pardon, Miss.
37. Is it
36, Miss. There's 36 of us.
Okay. So did Dr. Navirita share my notes with you? On the
We
internet?
haven't got any notes from Miss Nelfrita actually.
Not yet, Miss.
Okay, it's okay. I will share the screen and you may ask Dr. Navirita on the notes later. All right. So for my practice, I didn't give PowerPoint slide because PowerPoint is very limited in terms of wording, okay, to put in one slide. So I prefer to give notes straight away in the Word document, and even you can edit or typing with the extra points when we are discussing. All right. Okay. If I'm too fast, you may stop me. Okay. Or you can just call my name, Miss Aziza. Then I will entertain you. Okay. And if you have any question, you also can ask me during the class. All right. Okay. Before we start, any question? No. No. Okay. Currently, no. Okay. More. Okay, can you see screen on the lesson 12, control and AIS? Can you see my screen?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, good. All right. So for our topics today on the control and AIS, at the end of this topic, okay, we expect that students able to explain the basic control concepts, okay, and then compare and contrast the internal control framework that we have currently. And most of the industry, they are practicing this control framework in their organization. Later, I will share with you, all right, the example of how they inform to the shareholders, to the stakeholders, how they practicing this internal control framework, all right? And then discuss the major elements in the internal environment of a company, how to control the environment of a company before they look further details on the business operations. Okay, discuss 4 types of control objective, and then at the end of this lesson, you must able to assess response to risk. Okay, that regards to the ERM, control activities commonly used in a company, and how to communicate the information. All right, so before we go further, okay, let's look on the introduction part. Why threats to account information systems are increasing? Okay, what do you think? Why the threats to AIS increasing? Any idea? Why the threats to AIS is increasing? Any idea? Last time practices, we are still printing out the document hard copy, filing it hard copy, right? Nowadays, everything is soft copy and everything is in cloud. So when everything is in cloud, is it easily being exposed to the third party? Yes, easily being hacked, or we also do not know whether, all right, other people could access, okay, to our documentation or information system in cloud. So that's why, okay, when we have everything online, when we have everything in cloud, it's available to unprecedented number of workers. Maybe last time our practices, we limit to certain access only to our staff, but nowadays when everyone working from home, especially during COVID period, all right, now it become a norm whereby we can upload all the documents in cloud. Okay, and then information distributed through network is hard to control. Okay, because when everyone can access online, everyone can access to the cloud, it can be easily snapped, it can be easily downloaded, it can be easily screenshot, and then it can be distributed throughout the social media. So that's why it's hardly to control. Okay, customers, suppliers also have the access to each other system. Okay, when they have collaboration with suppliers, whereby suppliers able to access, okay, to the system of the client. All right, that's why it become also a threat. So organization have not adequately protected data for some reasons. Okay, so this one you can read. Okay, what you can see here. Any potential adverse occurrence is called a threat. So I already gave you a very comprehensive definition here, right? What does it mean by trait? Trait, any potential adverse occurrence. Adverse occurrence means here a negative or bad influence, all right? Or we call as unwanted event that could injure the ARS or the organization. Okay, and then when you have the traits, okay, that's why we are looking at the exposure or the impact that it could happen, or how does it bring impact to your organization. Okay, the potential dollar loss should particular trait become a reality. So if anything happen, let's say your PNC data being downloaded, your PNC data being shared through social media, all right? So what is the impact to your company? If let's say new, or you are going to launch a new product, you haven't launched it, but it's already being up in the social media. So how does it impact for your launching later on? How does it impact for your promotion? How does it impact towards the selling price, towards the number of products that you expect, okay, going to sell, all right? And we are also looking at the risk here, all right? Risk, the probability that a trade will come to pass. So when we talk about internal control, actually, we are looking what are the risks that happening in your organization, right? And what are the threats that you want to overcome so that it can minimize the impact to your organization, okay? That's what we always say, internal control, internal control. So what is internal control? We want to minimize the risk, okay? We want to minimize the threats so that the impact, okay, to your organization also will be minimum, all right? Okay, we go to the next part. Okay, if you look at this mind map, okay, first, before we go further on the framework, first we are looking at the internal control itself, all right? On the definition, on the functions of internal control, and what are the categories of internal control. Okay, anyone can explain to me what is internal control, or what's the idea of internal control? Anyone from Indonesia? Anyone can explain to me what's internal control? Or what's your idea?
Miss, maybe I can give my opinion about
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Okay, so internal control is a mechanism or procedures implemented by the company to
To
protect
overcome,
their ini
protect.
or to ensure the integrity of their accounting information and prevent fraud.
Okay, good. All right. So your colleagues here or your friends here mentioned the internal control is a mechanism or procedures, okay, in order to protect, okay, on the accounting information system. Yes, correct. All right. So internal control is like a big term, all right, the mechanism, the procedures. So when we are looking later on, what's the framework that is suitable, okay, then if it goes down, what is the internal control mechanism procedures that is relevant to implement in the organization. Okay, thank you. What's your name, girl?
Nazla, Miss.
Nazla. Thank you, Nazla.
Yes, Miss.
How am I doing that? Okay, can you see my screen on the notes?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can see it, Miss.
So you can refer also here internal control processes, procedures implemented to provide reasonable assurance that control objectives are met. Reasonable assurance, that means a security, a guarantee that you're able to safeguard your assets, able to protect, okay, whatever objective that you're going to meet. All right. So same, basically the same definition in terms of mechanism, procedures, processes, okay, how you want to protect, okay. All right, so that's on the definition part. And then we are looking here, the functions of internal control, okay. So internal control can be act as preventive measure. That means we prevent before anything happens. For example, can you give me an example? Preventive. The easiest one. You don't want anyone access to your smartphone, to your laptop. You set a password. So this is a preventive mechanism. All right. To prevent anything before it happens, or to prevent before the threats happen. So that's we call as preventive function. So for example also, you hire security guard. Why we have security guard before you enter the campus? To protect the stakeholders of the institution. Not everyone can simply go inside the campus, okay? Another thing, why we have security alarm? Security alarm. What lah, at your house? Detective. It can be also detective. Sometimes the mechanism, it can serve one function or it can serve two functions. Okay, preventive, for example, to prevent if let's say a burglar, when they saw that there's a security alarm, of course they won't go inside, right? So that's prevent. Of course, detective also. So when they come in, okay, access to the house or access to the company without proper access, then the alarm will trigger. So that become also detective. Okay. So second function, internal control act as detective function. That means it's able to detect, okay, the threats that currently happen. All right. As your friend mentioned here, detect when there's an unaccessible from the strangers. Okay. For example, your antivirus. If let's say you access to unsecured website, what will happen? It will detect or it will come up with the notification saying that it's not secure, right? Same goes to if let's say there's a virus in a pen drive or unplugged device, all right? Then it will detect what's happening, okay? So same goes to, for example, if you prepare bank reconciliation. So what is the main function to prepare bank recon? I know you are very well expert preparing bank recon. So why we need to prepare bank reconciliation? To detect any suspicious transaction in your banking account, correct? To detect any missing item that is not being recorded in your cash book. So when we talk about internal control here, it's not necessary, it must be always in the system. It can be physically, it can be in terms of documentation, it can be in terms of process of recording, all right? So as long as it is a procedure or mechanism that able to function as preventive, detective, all right, then it is part of internal control, okay? So the last function that we have here, corrective. Can you give me an example of corrective function? Maybe from our colleagues here, Indonesia. who we have here? Tatia, are you there, Tatia? Tatia, are you there,
Maybe the
Tatia?
corrective.
Can you give me
Okay.
one example of corrective?
Maybe one of the example of corrective function of internal control is to fix error or irregulations that have been detected by the detective functions of the internal control. Is that right?
Can you give me an example of the mechanism or the procedures? Yes, detective in order to, corrective in order to make it correct for those risks, for those threats that already happened. Okay, so can you give me an example of corrective?
For example, maybe additional employee training for the employee that maybe make mistakes before that impact the internal control of the company. So the additional employee training maybe can fix that error from the employee.
Okay, good point here. All right. One of it, additional training. So let's say they found out, anything happen? Let's say they found out employees making mistakes that cause losses to a company. All right, so the corrective action, sending, okay, those employees for training, for certain trainings so that they can gain knowledge and skills. So another corrective action here, this is whereby we have the external auditor. All right, why we have external auditor? External auditor will come and conduct their review. So from there, they will make corrective in terms of providing what we call feedback, providing improvement suggestion from the current processes of business operation. All right. Okay. So thank you, Tatia. Okay, so categories of internal control. Internal control can be divided into two categories. All right. First we have general categories. Second, we have application. So general, it becomes as the terms general. Set up or the policies, procedures being set up generally. For example, in our campus, what we need to comply with to wear your ID, right? Because sometimes I'm yes, okay. Sometimes I check that the guard will block the students from entering because they are not wearing ID. Yes, you are supposed to wear ID during in campus actually. All right, so it is a general. What are the rules, regulations, code of conduct that they need to follow? Okay, same goes here in the organization. Okay, sometimes company, not sometimes, every companies they will have their code of conducts. So it become a general, okay, control that every employees need to comply with the codes of conducts. Okay, applications in terms of certain accessing to the process. All right, for example, in terms of username, password to access to certain system. All right, or it mostly on the application base. So this one you can read further. Okay. All right. So far, are you good? Separate point. Okay, separate category. Okay, any question so far from University Padang?
No, Miss.
It's all clear, Miss.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
clear.
Good. Okay. So you already know the definition of internal control in terms of providing procedures, okay, mechanism to protect the institution. So how to implement the internal control here? Okay. So basically they have 3 controls framework that the organization can apply to. All right. So the first one they call as COVID framework. Second, they call as COSO framework. Okay, the third one they call as ERM. All right, ERM stands for Enterprise Risk Management. Okay, so it depends on the company, all right, which frameworks that is suitable to their business process. So it can be used only one framework. It can be more than one. All right. Okay, let's look the detail here. Okay, you can see under COVID, okay, they are more focusing on the business objective. That means the internal control must focus on the business objective. All right, IT resources, IT processes. So actually the whole part here, they are focusing on the objective or from the management part and the IT perspective. Okay, so let's see at the bottom. Right, we have the first framework, control objective for information and related technology. That means if a company would like to implement internal control, they can refer to this framework that focusing on the IT part, right? So a security control framework that allows the management to benchmark on the security control practices, especially on the IT environments. IT environments here in terms of, for example, all right, if the company purchasing IT devices, let's say the Wi-Fi router, okay, let's say the laptops, all right. So how they would like to have the procedures in terms of purchasing the Wi-Fi router. Okay, how they would like to have the procedure in terms of selecting vendor, right, that can supply them laptops to the employees. Okay, so when we talk about IT environments, okay, we are looking on the how the policies, procedures on getting the ITs on the of the company. Okay. And then users of the IT services to assure that the adequate security and control exists. Okay, users of IT services. That means in terms of the network, company's network, who can access on the internal network, all right? Who can access to the company's certain system, all right? So for example, in terms of approving credit note, so is it that every employee can access to the system to view it or to approve it? No, okay? They are looking on who can access, okay? What's the limitation of the employees? Is it they can only view, or is it they can download, or is it they can approve? Okay, so that's why we say as users of IT services. All right. So for example, Wi-Fi in the institution or the company, do they set up the password, usernames? Let's say like Inti here. Okay. How many Wi-Fi that we have? I mean, in terms of the main, 4. We have Inti guests. This is only for guests so that they can block at certain access. Okay. This one, new Inti secure. This is only for internal employees access. Yalah, both can lah kan. But there's a different actually. In terms of the speed, in terms of the access. Okay. If you use gas, I'm using gas because it's more convenient. But every time I would like to access to TCMS, every click that my cursor click, all right, they will ask username and password. That's how they limit it. Okay. But if let's say I'm using the new Inti secure here, if I access to TCMS, it won't never log out because it able to detect my ID as employee ID. Okay, so that's why we say that's how you control. All right, you don't know okay. Now you know. All right, so that's difference. Inti gas and new insecure inti, whatsoever lah. All right, but when every time, okay, if I say I'm connecting to inti gas, right? Every 3 months, my laptop need to reset password. So I cannot reset individually. I have to go to IT service. They will connect with the internal connection, the plug-in, that one. Then I can reset my password. But last time I used to connect here, okay? Every time we reset password, I can do it at home also, right? So that's much different. I don't know why it's quite difficult nowadays to get access to this one, okay? And this one, sometimes it will auto log you out. That means auto disconnect. Okay, it's not so stable. All right. Okay. And then the auditors to substantiate their internal control. That means there must be auditor come and check on the policies, procedures about your IT environments just now, how you set up your internal control, okay? And then on the users of IT service. So for example, auditor can come and check to look at the modem, to look at the IT devices, whether you purchase from the vendor that we have. If let's say you purchase from unauthorized vendor, during expenditure cycle, we already learned, right? We need to have selected vendors. So what happened if you purchase IT devices with or from unauthorized vendors? What will happen? What will happen? For the vendors, of course, we already conduct their background checking. Okay, we know that they are reliable. But if your employees, okay, suddenly purchase from unauthorized vendor, it could be a questionable there whether the devices being installed in your institution or company is there being detected, or there must be what we call intruders. Okay, they can insert certain bugs that can detect all the data transactions in the company. That's why, all right, they need to purchase from authorized vendor. Okay, all right. So this COVID-5 framework describes the best practices for effective governance. That means how you govern, how you structure, okay, the internal control in terms of IT environment. All right. So first, meeting stakeholders' needs. That means your IT environment, okay, must be meeting stakeholders' needs. Then you may come up with what are the internal control. All right. And then covering the enterprise end-to-end, okay, applying a single integrated framework, enabling holistic approach, separating governance from management. Okay, your task to read further, right, on this COVID-5 framework explanation. Okay, so I already gave you an idea for the COVID framework. They are looking on what are the perspective that they are looking into. Okay, set up a internal control on this IT environment, IT perspective. So for this part, you need to read further on your own. Okay, can we have 10 minutes break? I know you will like it. Can we have 10 minutes break?
Okay. Of course,
Okay.
Miss.
Okay. So come back by 11:57. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Aziza.
All right,
You mean
welcome. Okay, students from University Padang, do you have any question? This is a good moment to berkenalan.
I don't have a question, Miss. Yeah,
Okay.
so far so good.
You are currently in a week. Like us, we have 14 weeks, right? So now we are in a week 11, almost towards the end of semester. How about your institution?
In week 10,
Week 10.
yeah.
It's also a long semester.
Yeah, we have 16 weeks.
16.
Yeah, 2 weeks
Wow.
for the exam.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Including the
yeah,
exams, huh?
yeah, including the exam.
Okay. So currently on which topic for your AIS subject?
We currently discussing about flow chart in business
Oh,
process cycles.
the system documentation, is it? Ah, okay. That one we already covered. So total of 36 students, yeah? Okay, your classes will be conducted all physically or online?
We are half offline and half online using e-learning when we're studying.
Ah, half physical, half online. So good. Half physical, half online. Yeah, we are currently all physical, no online classes.
Yeah, but most of the lecturer still prefer to have offline class rather than online class actually.
Because when we have online class, normally students not really engaging.
uh, Miss Aziza, may I ask you a question? Because we are still on a break time.
Sure.
It's do you ever visit Indonesia before?
Sorry?
Do you ever visit Indonesia before?
Oh, Indonesia
Yes.
haven't, but I have a lot of collaboration partner with Indonesian university, like
Oh, that's great.
University Padang. I think last 2 weeks I met your Dr. Navarita. They came here,
Oh,
and then
oh yes, yeah.
I also collaborate with UNISCA, University Islam, yeah. UNISCA.
Oh, universities. Yes, here we have it here.
Oh,
That's great, Miss.
and then this
I hope we can meet
are
in Indonesia, actually.
sorry.
I hope we can meet in Indonesia, actually.
Yes.
I will tell you all about Indonesia.
You're welcoming to come here for study tour, the student mobility program. After this at 2 p.m. I also have workshop with Indonesian students. I cannot remember from which university that they are from for the workshop. So we have a lot of student mobility here, especially from Indonesia, from China, from Philippines and Vietnam.
Oh,
Mm.
it's great.
So if you're welcoming to come here, you can suggest to your Dr. Navarita.
That's a pleasure for me. Miss. I love to go to Inti International University. I have heard about it before from my lecturer actually, and she gave like a really positive review about Inti International University. That's a really great university in Malaysia.
Welcome here, and my students say the best environment university because we have
Yeah.
the it's very greenery here. We have a lot of plants, and then we have a lot of animals that would like to come to Inti as well. We have monkeys. We have last time what we have animals that come into Inti. Monkey. We have a lot of squirrels because because the view of our campus.
Well, I would love to go there, Miss. I will.
Maybe
That's
later I
great.
will share. I'm not able to bring you for the tour, but maybe I can share with you the photo of our campus. We can
That will be
connect
great.
through Instagram.
Oh, may I know the Instagram username of Inti?
Uh,
I would love to see the
you
photos.
can search. We have international student here from China. Come, introduce. Come here, introduce yourself.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello.
What's
Hi.
your name?
My name is Li Fu.
Yifu.
Yeah,
Okay.
Li Fu.
Yifu, you're from?
I'm from China, Sichuan province.
Shan province, China.
And nice to meet you, Yuiko. I'm sorry. Am I
Yifu.
correct?
Yifu.
Nice to meet you.
Yuiko.
What's your name?
What's your name? Which
Oh, my name is Moza Aurora. You can call me Moza, actually.
Moza Aurora.
Hello, Moza.
Yes, Moza.
Okay.
Nice to meet
We
you.
have Amma. Amma, come here. We have another international student. Okay.
Hi, nice to meet you.
My name is Amar. I'm from Kenya. You know where is Kenya?
Yeah.
Where is Kenya?
Oh, Kenya. Oh. Hey,
Kenya.
nice to meet you. What's your name again? I'm sorry.
Amar.
Amar.
Akmal.
Yeah.
Okay,
Akmal,
nice to meet you,
Amar.
Akmal. I'm Moza Aurora.
No, Aman also. Amar.
A-M-M.
Amar.
Yeah, Amar.
Amar.
I'm sorry.
Do you know where Kenya is?
Yeah, I've heard about Kenya before.
Part of Africa.
It's a nice country.
Part of Africa.
Other people don't know.
I thought you're part of Pakistan.
And you, many people don't believe this. Comes from there.
Kenya?
Yeah, but originally like India.
Ah, that's why your face like India, Pakistan. India, which part India?
Not sure.
Okay,
See you.
see you. All right, let's continue.
Okay, Miss. Let's continue.
I also don't know you're from Kenya. I thought he's from Pakistan. Sorry, my bad. All right, let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, Miss. Yes, Miss.
Yes, very clearly.
Okay, let's continue. The second framework that is applicable is the COSO. All right, COSO stands for Committee of Sponsoring Organization. So it is a private sector group consisting the American Accounting Association. Okay. The Institute of Internal Auditors, the Institute of Management Accountants, and the Financial Executive Institute. All right. So this framework issued on the internal control that defines internal controls, provide guidance for evaluating, enhancing internal control system. For COVID just now, the framework is particularly looking on the IT environment, IT perspective. But this committee, all right, from the AICPA, they are focusing on a wide range, all right, rather than focusing on IT environment. Okay, they have 5 components that they are focusing the internal control. That means if you are looking at this mind map, okay, the internal control must be implemented in the environment. That means the business environment. Internal control must be implemented for the activities of the operation. Okay, risk assessment, information, communication, and monitoring. That means the internal control that being set up, okay, will be covered on these 5 components. Okay, so we will look one by one. All right. So the first component on the setup control of environment. So they are looking at the core of any business is people, their individual attributes, including integrity, discipline, ethical values, as well as competence, and the environment which they operate. That means, okay, they are looking that before they can go further on the business operation, they must control the environment in the business first, because the people is the one who handle, okay, the business. So the people need to be controlled with integrity value, need to be disciplined, okay, and as well as ethical. So when they have all these integrity, discipline, and ethical, it will be easier for them to guide, okay, in handling the business operation ethically. All right. So the principles under these components, they are looking on the commitment to integrity, internal control oversight. Okay, that means they set up the internal control, but there must be body that monitor, okay, oversight the whole environment. Okay, and then structure, reporting lines, and commitment. So I would like to explain further on the right box here. Okay, the internal environment that they are looking, or they call as company culture, will influence how organizations establish strategies. So can you, if you look at Japanese company, they will bring along their Japanese culture. That means they will be very punctual. They will be very disciplined, correct? So that's why I said as a company culture, it will bring along the way they will conduct a business. Okay, so that's why they are looking the internal control on the management philosophy, the operating style, and the risk appetite. That means the management philosophy or operating style. Is it the communication must always from top to down, or it can be down to top? Or is it the style will be always autocratic, okay? Or the style, it can be democratic, all right? So the culture will influence how the business operate, okay? And then you must have the board of directors. That means every company, in order to control their people, they need to have board of directors. You already learned about the corporate governance, right? So what is the function of board of directors here? Corporate governance. Oh, both students haven't. Bachi, corporate governance already learned, right? Haven't? Business ethics? Not yet. Corporate governance? Done. I saw someone nodding.
This is also just like governing the whole entire organization from the top directors.
Sorry?
Like governing the
Yes, they are governing. But the one who appointed the board of directors is the shareholders. Because back to the principle, business is a separate entity from the owner. Who is the owner of the company? Shareholders. Who will run the business? The management. So the board of directors will monitor the management so that they are aligned with the shareholders' motive. It's not that the management will go for their own motive. So that's the main idea why they need to have the board of directors. Okay, so on the risk appetite also, all right, the management maybe they are looking for minimum risk appetite. But if you go for minimum risk, the return also will be low. All right, maybe shareholders would prefer more on high risk because high risk will bring high return. So there must be what we call intermediary between management and shareholders, which we call as the board of directors. They will control the management, okay, in order to serve the shareholders' interest, right? Okay, then we need to have the commitment to integrity, ethical values, and competence, right? That means the organization have to come out how or what they need to do in order the people or their employees to have ethical values. That's why they come out with the code of conducts, code of ethics. Even here also you need to learn on the code of ethics, right? Business ethics. So these ethical values, all right, indirectly will be influenced by whatever rules, regulation that you set up in a company. Okay, all right. Organizational structure, how you structure your head and so on. All right. Methods of assigning authority and responsibility. Okay, how the people in the company being assigned to their authority or to their responsibility. Normally, we will based on their competence, right? Based on their what we call background. Okay, if you put the people who have the skills in the right position, they will excel. The performance will be very good. Okay, so that's why assigning authority, responsibility also need to look into, because if you put the wrong background people in that position, okay, it will run down the company. All right. Okay, and then human resource standards. Okay, in terms of the fairness of the salaries, in terms of the employees' benefits and so on. If you are looking consideration in terms of employees' benefits very well, you are taking them very well, take care of them very well, okay, they will perform better. All right. But if they are not satisfied with the workload given, with the salaries being paid, that's why some of the internal employees, they tend to taking money from the institution or from the organization. Okay, yes, this happened. That's why they commit fraud, because the money that they receive or the salary that they receive does not match with the job scope, the workload that they being assigned. All right. Okay, external and influences. Example of external influences. How does it will influence or impact to the control environment? For example, changes in the Employment Act. Any changes, okay, in the rules and regulation. How does it will bring impact, okay, to your control environment? All right. Last time during MCO, okay, we have everyone working from home. Now, some of the companies still practicing working from home, all right? And how this will influence other employees in other company, okay? All right, because when everyone working from home, again, I repeat, is exposing to the cloud all the data. You cannot control where they access it. Sometimes they access at the hotels. And the worst part, they use the Wi-Fi, hotel's Wi-Fi. So that is not secure. Okay, it can be easily introduced using the Wi-Fi hotels to get access to the company's system. All right. Okay. And now I think they haven't gazetted. Okay, in Malaysia, the Ministry of Human, okay, they already recommend, okay, for the workers, okay, to have flexibility. Flexibility in working. That means in 1 week, maybe we have 2 days of working from home, okay, 3 days attending at work. So, but they haven't gazetted it in Parliament. All right. So, this kind of external influence, okay, will affect the control environment. Okay. Some of the companies, yes, they give flexibility. But if let's say working from home, they expect that you are doing your work at your own home. If you are going back to your hometown, okay, to your parents' house during your working from home, they expect you to inform earlier to the manager, and they will ask you to tag the location. This is how they control it. All right, so that they know where are you, okay, they know what you are doing. Are you really working during the work from home or not? Okay, yes, to the extent some of the companies make it like that. Okay, they need, I'm not sure how they create the system, but they have the app that they can, the manager can supervise their location, the employees, their subordinates location. Okay. Okay, that's the first component. Second component, we are looking at the control activities. Okay, so once you control your people to be very ethical, all right, now you control the process, okay, of the business. So control policies, procedures help ensure that the actions identified by management to address risk achieve the organization's objective. All right, so activities here in terms of your business process cycle just now. Okay, the business process activities. Therefore, if you are looking at on the principal part here, You have to read on your own. All right. So I give you further explanation here. Okay. Policies and procedures to provide reasonable assurance that control objectives are met. Okay. So for example, we must have proper authorization of transactions and activities. Okay. Proper authorizations in terms of credit approval. Proper authorizations in terms of selecting the vendor. Authorization in terms of purchasing. Approved for the purchasing order. Okay. So this is what we call as proper authorization. Right. Signature or code on document to signal the authority over process. So there must be, okay, if approved, there must be comes together with the signature or code of document. Okay, as approved, right, the authority over a process. So we know who is the responsible person for the approval. All right. Okay. The next part, segregation of duties, or sometimes we call as separation of duties. That means no one or employee should be given too much responsibility, right? So how the duties being segregated into 3 parts. So first, duty approving transaction. Second, duty on recording. The third duty in terms of custody or holding, okay, or handling cash, holding the inventory, okay, handling the fixed assets. So it is suggested on these 3 parts, it should be segregated. So one employee, if they are given for the scope on the approving transaction, he or she cannot be the one who also recording. Okay, so another duty also custody. If you have the authority in terms of recording, okay, you cannot have the job on the custody. All right, for example, if you approve on the credit approval, you cannot be the one who records on your GL about your accounts receivable as well as in terms of write off the account. Okay. Huh? Sorry? Yes, if one person handling all those 3 duties, they have the conflict to commit fraud. It less risk because sometimes, all right, if different person handling cash, you are handling on the recording. Maybe I'm the one who is more integrity. If you asking me to collaborate with you to commit fraud, maybe 50-50 or maybe 100% I will reject. Because back to the first control just now, everyone have the ethical values. So that's the main part when.
That means the one who is recording. Where does he get his information to record? From the first person who is approving the transaction.
The documentation. From the documentation in the system. Okay, once it's approved, then it will be forwarded. They will program who is the person can access to the system. So that's the control. All right. For example, okay. For example, for your final exam marks, I'm the one who record or key in your marks. Okay. But the one who approve for all the marks is the exam center. So once I key in, I submit, I'm not able to edit, to delete. That's how the procedure. So it's what we call, in terms of approving, in terms of authorizing, the full grade will be handled by different person. Okay. All right. Okay, custody, that means the holding or you hold something all right, in terms of cash, inventory, and fixed asset, okay, should be not the same person on the duties of approving and recording. Okay, so if you have separate duties like this to different person, then it can minimize the risk in terms of committing fraud by your internal employees. Okay, all right, so far you good? So far you good? Over there, are you good?
Yes, Miss.
Okay. Okay, the next component, we are looking on the risk assessment. All right. So risk assessment is very important, whereby organization must identify, analyze, and manage its risk. So managing risk is a dynamic process. Management must consider changes in the external environment within the business, may be obstacles to its objective. Okay. So these are the principles on the risk assessment. Okay. On the explanation part, organization must identify, analyze, and manage its risk. Okay. So before they can go further, they need to understand what the meaning of identify risk. Right? Identify risk here. Okay. Identify the likelihood of the risk, whether it could bring positive impact, it could bring negative impact. Okay. So risk in terms of what? Risk in terms of, it can be a lot of point. For example, risk in terms of hiring certain individual. All right. Risk in terms of investing a certain project. So they need to identify the likelihood of the risk. So for example, if you hire, okay, somebody that have political background, okay, as your board of directors or your CEO. So does it bring positive impact? Does it bring negative impact? It could be positive impact because these political people, they have a very large networking. So they can have easy connection to get funds, to get investments, to get more projects. It could be. But if let's say this political individual, all right, they have a very, what we call negative prescription from the public. So it could be a very not so good impact to the company because people don't like them. So when people don't like them, of course, it will influence the purchase and buying with your company. All right. Okay. Even same also, invest in the project. What's the current issue in Malaysia? What's the current issue? Current issue. About the fashion ballet, right? Okay. What happened? Not about the exchange rate. It's because we have the investment company. We have the investment company that invests in a fashion retail. They expect it will bring profit, but somehow it brings losses. But if they look from the point of view of investors, actually they are making profit. It's just that towards the end, it's slightly lost. Okay, but since in the media, it make it like a controversial numbers, 47 million. That's why people or the public become very angry. Okay, because the investment is using the public money. That's why people are very angry. All right. So that's why positive impact because of the business seems strategy so good. But towards the end, when we know what's the situation, then it will bring impact here. All right. So what we have, the types of risk. Okay, when you already identified the risk, then try to look which category it falls into. So the first one, inherent risk. Okay, the susceptibility of a set of accounts or transactions to significant control problems in the absence of the internal control. Okay, the keyword here, absence of internal control, right? It can be you don't have internal control at all, or the internal control is there but it's very weak. Okay, it's not, maybe not related, okay, or it's not very efficient. All right. So for example, in your institution, okay, you just have a lock. So what is the risk? Is it high risk or low risk? So from that, we look at the high risk, then they come out with more internal control, okay, to implement in that situation. So on certain situation, they will look, okay, if providing your employees to work from home is very low risk, then they might come out 1 or 2 internal control only. Okay. If providing work from home to your employees is very high risk, okay, then they may not offer it at all as an option to the employees. All right. So this is what they look at, the types of risk. Okay. And then residual risk, risk that remains after management implements internal controls, okay, or some other response to risk, okay. That means the internal control is already in place, but if anything happens, okay, the threat still occurring, they have to bear with it. So for example, you already hire security guard, you already set up the security alarm, but still there will be intruders coming into your institution to breach your data and so on. So that will be the residual risk. Okay. Now what happened in Spain? What happened in Spain? Valencia. I don't know. What happened in Spain? Guys, in Indonesia? What happened in Spain? I cannot hear you, Moza.
Pardon me, miss. What happened in Spain? Am I correct?
Yes, what happened in Spain currently?
Oh my, I'm afraid I don't hear about it yet.
Okay. No one knows? Banjir. Yeah, correct. Banjir at Valencia. And it is the worst flood happens in the era. Okay. They have a quotation like raining 8 hours for 1 year. Okay. That means it rains 8 hours only, but the amount of rain, it seems for 1 year. That's why they have flood, okay, flooded. And you can see it's very a bad situation, a collision of the cars and so on. So this is what happened. Now you want to Google it. Okay, this is what happened. We already have the control in terms of the environment, for example. But if anything happens, still it can be happen. We cannot control it. Still we have to bear with the losses, with the risk. Okay, so that's the meaning of residual risk. Right? Okay, and the next component of internal control under COSO, we have information and communication. Okay, information communication systems capture and exchange the information needed to conduct, manage, and control the organization's operations. Okay, so communication must occur internally and externally to provide information needed to carry out day-to-day internal control activities. Okay, so for example, obtaining or generating relevant high quality information to support internal control. Okay, internally communicating information including objective responsibilities necessary to support other components of internal control. Okay, so for example, just now, one of the control, approving transactions. So to approve, let's say credit note, to approve on the written inwards by the customers, okay, those approval or those who approve it, the individual who approve it, he or she needs a documentation to review, correct? So this is what we say as communication, okay? The person who prepare for the written invoice documentation need to submit it to the approval person. So when approval person review, all right, this is the case, this is the product, because of what, okay, how much the amount, then they approve it, then we say the communication there is very clear, all right? So for example, I bought one shoes in Shopee, all right? By the time it arrived, it's different size, or I say it's bigger than what should be, all right? So what I did, I returned. When I return, the item being picked up at my house and then is being logistic to the Shopee warehouse. Okay, so once the Shopee warehouse receive it, it's update to me that the refund process updates will be updated, I think about 3 days. Okay, on the 6th of October, if I'm not mistaken. So until 8th of October, there is no update and the refund is not processed. Okay, so is that any clear communication there? No, because warehouse already received it, it's already updated in the system, they receive my return. But until 8th of October, there is no update about my status. Okay, so that's what we call as, where is the internal control? What is the communication is hanging suddenly after they receive my product, right? From my purchase. Okay, so when I chat with the agent, you know what the agent asked me? Have you returned the product? The agent asked me, have I returned the product? I said, you can check in the system, right? Because the system notified me they already received my product. Why I need to answer, have I returned your product? One thing. Second, they want to prove it. I said, yes, I already returned. And then, second question, I said, I already returned the product. And then the second question, can you show me the proof that I have returned the shoe? Oh my God, in the Shopee, it's already have the track. Even we return the item, right? They can track until it arrived at the warehouse. Okay, so now they ask me to send a proof during the chatting. How I want to screenshot? Oh my God! And then I try to screenshot and then show it. Okay, so this is what we call as communication. If they have a very proper way, they have a very good system to update, but why they cannot access to the system itself, right? Rather than asking us, have I returned the product, right? So it takes time, okay? After chatting with the agent, okay, then it bring up the case to the next level, and then the next level looking forward the situation, okay, then they approve my refund. Okay, so when they have a very good system, but it is not efficiently used, then the internal control also drop. Okay, because when we talk about internal control, it must have information communication. The process must be very clear and smooth. All right. Okay. And the last part, the component on the monitoring. Okay, so the monitoring, looking at the entire process, must be monitored. Modification made as necessary so the system can change as conditions warrant. Okay, that means when everything or the entire process already have the internal control, but it also needs to be monitored so that we want every process happens as what we want or it meets the objective. All right. So deficiencies are communicated in timely manner with serious matters reported to senior management and the board. Okay. So if let's say when the monitor, all right, there's something happen or the employees not fully follow the control. Okay. So what they need to do to communicate or to report it so that it can be, the action can be taken in a short time. All right. So example or key methods of monitoring performance here, what are the mechanisms that we can have as a monitoring? First of all, to evaluate the internal control framework. Okay. Yes. You're going. Yeah. Okay. Evaluate internal control framework. Okay. Whether do we follow, really comply with the framework to set up the internal control? Okay. And then effective supervision. Okay. So we have a few levels of supervision. For, let's say, me as a lecturer, who will supervise me? My head of department. All right. So after head of department, who will supervise the head of department? The dean. So if let's say, okay, the dean looking at my scope or my job is not really efficient, then he or she will inform the head so that the head can have face-to-face discussion with me, for example. All right. So this is what we call, we need to have a layer of monitoring, supervision. All right. Responsibility accounting system. Last time we already learned responsibility. What does it mean? That means there must be someone or some unit to be responsible for anything happen. Okay, let's say in the faculty, cost increase as what we budgeted. So who is the responsible person? The dean need to be responsible. Why the cost exceed the budgeted cost? All right. Okay. Monitor system activities, track purchase software, mobile devices. Okay. We want to limit or to minimize the risk of the exposure of strangers or other people to access to our system. All right. Engage forensic specialists, install fraud detection software, and implement a fraud hotline. Sometimes it doesn't necessary to be fraud hotline. It can be a hotline whereby everyone or every staff can access it to raise their issues, to raise their complaint. Okay. Even here at INTI also we have, whereby staff can easily enter to the hotline, raise our issues. Then the assurance people, okay, will come and get more information in detail. All right. So instead of they focus on fraud only, they can come up with general hotline where everyone can access it, okay, raise up their issues. All right. So that will be the COSO framework. So COSO is very detailed compared to COVID. That means the internal control that you set up in your company, institution, okay, need to have environment, look at the activities or business processes, risk assessment, information communication, and monitoring. All right. So the last framework that we have here, the enterprise risk management framework. Okay. So the enterprise risk management framework we call as ERM. All right. So COSO framework improve the risk management process. However, ERM, it will expand or it will add additional 3 components, all right, for the internal control. For COSO just now, they are looking at the control base. ERM, they are looking at risk base, okay? In COSO just now, they already, sorry, I need to go faster because almost 12 over there, right? They are looking at the risk. They identify the risk, okay, identify the types of risk, but under ERM, they will assess the risk, okay? That's why it is said as risk-based, all right? So basically, ERM, process of the Board of Directors Management used to set strategies, identify events they may affect the entity, assess and manage risk, provide reasonable assurance that the company achieve its objective and goals. So if you look in the annual report, you are familiar with annual report? For students in University Padang, are you familiar with annual report?
Yes, we familiar with annual report.
Okay, so can you see my screen on the Air Asia?
Yes, miss.
Okay, so to have a very transparency of reporting, all right? Even in the annual report, they have to mention about their internal control. And in the annual report also, they discuss, all right, on the internal control framework that applicable to their company. So if you look here, okay, okay, so you can see here, under the internal control reporting, they also mention about their risk management. Okay, so they have to look at the risk management for their long-term success, and they are comply with the enterprise risk management policy, or what we can say, they are also looking at the enterprise risk management framework. So the internal control framework that we learn, how they apply in their organization. Okay, so the one that we learn is just a basic, but they will implement up to their situation. All right, so different company, they have different situation of risk management. Therefore, for example, like Air Asia, okay, our ERM methodology is depicted as below. So this is how they look at their internal control on the risk. First, they identify the risk, and then they will assess the risk. Next, they will come out with the risk control. This is whereby they implement the internal control. So different situation on the risk level, they will set at different internal control mechanism. All right. And next, they will have the risk monitoring. So after they come out with the control, of course, they will monitor whether their control, is it efficient or not efficient. So control here is not necessary control in the system. As you can see just now, we control the environment. We control the process, okay? And then we are looking also, they are preparing on the risk reporting. So from the report, they're able to compare it between years. They're able to compare it between companies in the same industry. All right. So when we talk about internal control, there are 3 frameworks just now they can have an idea. All right. But how to implement it, it based on their situation of the institution or the company. Okay. So basically, if you look at the ERM, okay, as I mentioned, ERM, they are more on the risk assessment. So they need to have setting objective besides the 5 COSO components. The additional 3 objectives that they are looking are the setting objective, event identifications. Okay, from this event identification, they will set up the risk. Okay, positive, negative impacts, events may trigger other events. All events should be anticipated with good internal control and backup. Okay, for example, event identification, now they are moving towards ESG, sustainability, climate change, and so on. So how does this bring impact to the company? What they need to do for those listed companies, they need to come out with the sustainability reporting. All right. So does it bring positive impact? Does it bring negative impact to them? All right. And then event may trigger other events. So once you come out with the risk assessment, then what is your next action? So if let's say you already committed on the carbon emission, comply with the climate change act recommendation and whatsoever, okay, what is your next action? Like in T, we are moving also to ESG, sustainability. So what's our action? What's our action? What did they do? What's your term? They installing the solar panel. Okay, you know what? Because when we use electricity, we are actually using the charcoal. And the charcoal is very expensive nowadays and is very limited. So that's why the electricity rate increasing from time to time. And it become a waste. So for sustainability, that's why we are moving for solar panel. Okay. All right. So that's why I say one event, sustainability. So what is the next event or next action? Okay. And then the risk assessment, how you respond to the risk. Hold on, just a little bit more, then we can end our session. Okay, the risk assessment, how we respond to the risk. For the COSO just now, they just identified. For the ERM, we need to give response to the risk. Okay, so in terms of reduce of what? If let's say you look at, it's very high waste, okay, high chemical waste, high okay, so how are we going to reduce it? Okay, so for example, nowadays we will reduce in terms of the waste of paper. So what will be implemented? Everything being soft copy. All right, less printed. And now they are limited the ream of paper for every faculty so that they can reduce the waste. Okay, accept the risk. We already have the control, but it's nothing that we can do after that. So we just accept the risk after the control. There could be a situation happens. For example, we have a very good policy environment of working, but suddenly COVID came in. So we cannot control it. So we just accept whatever happened, okay, the sales drops and so on. All right, share the risk. How we share the risk? How we share the losses for damages happen, okay? How to share the losses? Anyone from Indonesia? How we share the risk? So for example, for those exclusive products, for your properties, what do we have? Insurance, right? So anything happens to your products, anything happens to your property, rent, shops, inventory, and so on. Okay, let's say damage on fire. All right. So we still can get compensation from the insurance companies. So this is how we share the risk. Okay. Another thing that we share the risk, for example, in terms of project. Okay, we have the skills, but we don't have the fund. So we joint venture with companies that have a very big fund. All right. So that's how we are sharing the risk. Okay. And the last one, we try to avoid the risk. That means try not to involve so that we won't face the risk. For example, okay, not hiring employees that we already know have a very bad background. Okay, maybe in previous companies, the employees have committed fraud. So it could be the risk that he or she commit fraud in our companies also will be very high, right? So again, for example, not or avoid in terms of committed or commit offense, okay, or violates the rules. Because if let's say we do not comply with the rules, regulations by the authority, what will happen? In the future, okay, they will fine us penalty and not thousands, 100,000 could be. All right. Okay. So that will be the internal control on the ERM. So I just recap basically to come up with the internal controls, we are referring to 3 frameworks. COVID just focus on the IT environment perspective. COSO, they are looking on the wide range, okay, on the 5 components. Okay, for ERM, they are also looking at the COSO elements, COSO components plus these 3 components. All right. So that will be the end of the topic of internal control. Okay. And for the next week, we are looking on the control in the system, which we call as system reliability. All right. So this one, we are looking on the general part, environment, monitoring, communication. For on the next week, internal control specifically in the system. Okay, so for any question? No. Any question from your side, students?
No, Miss.
Miss.
Okay.
Clear. Thank you very much.
For the guys, you may leave the session. I think they already leave. What time there? They are going for the Friday prayer, kan? Okay, so for next week, it will be covered by your lecturer, Dr. Navirita. Okay, and if you have any question, you may contact me at this number. I will leave my number here. If you want my IG, I will give privately. Okay, so thank you so much for attending my session. All right, hopefully you have a very insightful points point of view from my side. All right, and I'm really apologize if you feel offensive for any examples or discussions that I made during the whole session. Okay, so thank you so much for attending this class. Hopefully to meet you again next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Miss
so
Aziza.
much, Miss Aziza.
We have to have more sessions with you in the future like this.
Yeah, sure,
Thank you.
sure.